What is going on, guys? We're doing another episode of our fan day, right?
Fan day, baby.
Fan day. Ryan and I switched places because we have a really exciting episode for you guys today. We're trying to kind of like raise awareness about the Army and about lifestyles for everyone, not
Or
just
different angles.
different angles. Exactly, right? So in this episode, we are actually doing an interview of somebody who has supported me throughout my entire life, pushed me to be better than myself. Honestly, my first fan that I've ever had, and it's actually my mom.
Woo!
She grew up in a military family. She married my dad, who was in the Army. So she was in the Army as well, basically as long as my dad was, supporting my dad, and then supported me going into the Army myself. So she's got a lot of family that's also been in the Army, but we'll kind of dig into that a little bit during the interview. So do you have anything before we get started?
No, I'm excited. If you guys have any comments or questions, drop them down. She is always on every one of our videos, so if you ever have questions for her, I guarantee she'll respond.
Yes.
I think that's about it. Let's get to it.
Yeah. So we like to start out with the introduction. So do you want to introduce yourself for the fans out there?
Well, my name's Elizabeth Warren, and I'm your mom, and I've been your mom your entire life.
Oh yeah. That's pretty good. Right to the point. I like it. So we like to start out with a couple of sort of introduction questions to see about your life a little bit. So you've been with the military a long time, not actively serving in the military, but supporting members of your family that have been, and your dad, my dad, and myself, as well as my sister. So where has the Army taken you? Well, where has the military taken you? Because I know your dad was in the Marine Corps.
Okay, so the Marine Corps. I was the first person on my dad's side of the family to be born outside of the state of Oregon. Go Oregon! I was born when my dad was in flight school in Florida, and then we moved to California, then Hawaii, then back to California, then North Carolina. Then my dad got out of the Marine Corps and we settled up in Oregon, in Salem, and then we moved to Bend, and then we moved back to Salem, where I met your dad. And yeah, and your dad and I both graduated from high school in Salem, and then he joined the Army. And with the Army, we were stationed at I went to Fort Dix for his graduation from basic. So when he graduated, I went there. And then his AIT was at Fort Devens, and I did live there while he was at AIT for a short time. Then his first duty station was Germany, and we loved Germany.
Stayed there an extra 3 years, if I remember right. So you were there for 3 years, and then extended for another 3.
Sort of. So funny story about Germany. They say when you're in Germany, you will come home or come back to the States with one of three things. They say a shrunk, which is a large cuckoo clock, or not a cuckoo clock, a large like bookcase type thing. A cuckoo clock or a kid. Well, we came home with 2 kids, no shrunk and no cuckoo clock. So we were there for 3 years on our first tour. We loved it, just begged and begged to stay. So we extended for a year. Still weren't ready to come home, so we extended for another 3 years. So we were there for a total of 7.5 years.
Oh, wow. And I guess throughout those 2 sort of separate like times that you were there, the first 3 years and the last 3 years, you had 2 children. So you had 2 opportunities to get either a cuckoo clock, one of the giant cupboard things, or a child, and you happened to get kids both times.
We did, yeah.
All right, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So where are you at now? I know after Dad retired and everything like that, he joined. Well, he didn't join. He got other jobs and stuff like that. So where are you guys at now, and how does like the military play into your lives now?
Okay, so perfect. Well, let me go back to after Germany. We went to Fort Meade, Maryland, then San Antonio, Texas, where he was at an Air Force base actually. Then we went to Hawaii for 4 years, and then to Arizona, to Fort Huachuca, Arizona. While we were at Fort Huachuca, he retired after 22 years. and he took a job as a contractor teaching new recruits to do exactly what he did in the Army, which was to fly the UAVs, the unmanned air vehicles. Since then, he's left that contract and gone to another contract, and we are now in Southern California, still working sort of with the military.
Okay, that's awesome. Now, what was the most exciting thing that you, as a spouse, have experienced in the Army? I know Dad probably has his own experiences and stuff, but as far as being a spouse, right? What was the most exciting thing for you about the military, or an event that may have happened that you thought was really exciting?
Okay. Well, I can go with the most exciting thing here and there and at different duty stations. So I guess for me, the most exciting thing about Germany was we were there when the wall came down, and I was able to go to Berlin and chunk off a bit of the wall. So I have a couple little pieces of the Berlin Wall. So that was really cool about living in Germany. And the Army had, well, all military have morale, welfare, recreation places where you can go and you can get cheaper tours, cheaper tickets to different things like Disneyland and Legoland and all of those kinds of things. Well, in Germany, they had bus tours that they would take from where you lived to, say, Czechoslovakia. And you could go shopping for Polish pottery, or you could go to France, you could go some other city in Germany and see the sights in those other places. So that was a really cool bonus for being in the military.
Hmm.
When we were stationed at Fort Meade, we were able to explore a lot of the Smithsonian that, having lived in Oregon, most of from middle school all the way through high school, I didn't get to experience that when we were stationed with my dad in North Carolina. So just different things that I got to do. And then San Antonio, gosh, we went to the Alamo and got to see that part of history. When we were stationed in Hawaii, it was the Arizona, the ship there, and Pearl Harbor, and different islands that we got to go experience. We got to watch lava flow from into the ocean. That was really cool. Hike across the lava beds. Then in Arizona, both of my kids met their spouses there, and we got to go see Tombstone and Bisbee, just cute little towns, and just explore where you're at. There's just so many little nuggets that I've really appreciated.
Now, were you ever scared for Dad, for your dad, for my dad, and for me, being the support in that group? Obviously, you probably had some like anxiety or anything like that.
So for my dad, no, not really. I think I was kind of too young. He got out when I was in the 5th grade. So I think I was a little too young to really grasp the danger that my dad was in, although he was in danger. He was a helicopter pilot. So, obviously that's a little bit more dangerous. For my husband, for your dad, the year that he was in Iraq, it was during Desert Storm. And of course, that was a little bit.
But he was deployed, so yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
just that.
it's a little bit
Yeah.
apprehensive, but because of his job, he wasn't really in severe danger, so I didn't worry too much. And he did shield me a lot from that. So if he ever had to take a hop from his base to another base, he didn't tell me until he was home. And then, of course, when you were in Afghanistan, I worried a little bit.
Yeah.
But I have faith, so I didn't
Okay.
have to worry too much.
Now we're going a little bit long on time, so we might actually have to do another interview with you. But I'm going to finish this up with just one quick question. What would you give advice-wise to any new military spouse, and what do you wish that you had known early in your life?
All right, so I really consider those to be two separate questions.
Yes.
So I'll go with what advice do I have? So I would say bloom where you're planted. So take advantage of what each installation has to offer. All the units have family support groups, family readiness groups that you can get involved with.
Mm-hmm.
They oftentimes they have, and you can start your own programs with those groups. So you could do like a babysitting co-op so that you're not having to pay for childcare. You can trade childcare with this person or that person, somebody that you know, like, and trust.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I just have a quick question on that. A lot of soldiers feel embarrassed to reach out to those resources. So, what advice? I know I'm adding on to
No,
it.
that's fine.
Would you say though for those people that are kind of embarrassed to reach out to those, because those are great programs, but people are embarrassed to use them?
I don't know why they should be. I mean, we're all in this together. It takes a team. Um, when you're at work, Ethan, when Sergeant Warren, when you're at work, you can't do every task by yourself. You
No.
have to help sometimes.
Yeah.
And just living our lives, we have communities on the outside. We have friends and family on the outside. I'm involved with the Chamber of Commerce here, and that was one of the first things I did when we moved here. Was I joined the Chamber of Commerce so that I could network and meet people and get help and be exposed to the different resources that there are around me here. Well, that's just what a family support group or family readiness group is. Different resources to help you with different things. The Army has the AER fund, the Army Emergency Relief Fund. If your car breaks down and you don't have the money, it's possible for you to get a no interest loan. If something happens and you're not able to pay your rent, that's another option for you. Diapers for your kids. There is so much that the military has to offer and that the Army has to offer. It just blows my mind that somebody would be embarrassed to ask for help. And they shouldn't be.
I feel like for them, they feel like as if they failed if they have to get to that point. I think that's why.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody goes through life events. I mean, I went through a significant emotional event when I was in Hawaii, actually two really close together, and my unit was able to help me through that.
That's good.
Yeah, but not everybody goes through the emotional events that I went through. I mean, I lost my grandfather when I was in Hawaii, and he was in California. That's a large distance. I know one was in the Pacific Ocean, and the other one was along the coastline, so it seems really close. But having that flight ticket and everything was expensive, and them having helped me out with that sort of thing was something that helped me out throughout. One less thing to worry about. Yes, I had this significant emotional event, but I didn't have to worry about how was that getting paid for. Was I able to take leave? Did I have enough leave? Because you can go into the hole, right? So just because you don't have 10 days of leave to go, they can grant you additional leave because you're going to earn that back. So
exactly.
It shouldn't be embarrassing. Talk to everybody as a person, and that's pretty good. We are getting really, really short on time here, so I hate to cut it short, but I really think that maybe we should even do another video and kind of explore a little bit more about your life. We did the introduction. We saw a little bit about your life, and I really think it would be beneficial for some of our viewers, especially those spouses, to learn a little bit more about your life. If you would be willing to do that, obviously I've talked to you a little bit about this, and you're very supportive and really want to come on these shows, and so I really enjoy it. But Ryan, you got anything else before we wrap things up?
Well, I would say before we end it, I want that second part question if you would like to answer. I forgot how you worded it.
What do you wish you yourself had known early?
Because that's very important.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's not that I wish I had known it. I wish it had been available when your dad was in the military, because it's a fairly new thing. It's the my.caa that will help spouses of certain ranks in the military gain certifications or educations. It pays for it. If that had been available for me, I think my personal life would be so much more fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
Not that my life wasn't great, because it was. I have nothing to complain about. I'm perfectly happy and content with my life. So it's not that I'm saying that, but just a great opportunity for spouses to get paid for education. And I really feel like more of them should take advantage of that. That's just my 2 cents. Since you asked, that's what I'll give. But back to Bloom, where you're planted, whatever station you're at, get involved, do things, get to know people, network.
All right. Well, that concludes this segment. We'll have a part two where we dig into some of the programs that you yourself have taken advantage of. I know you used the or the not tuition assistance, but the Army GI Bill.
Yep.
You were able to utilize that to get your business management degree.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll kind of explore a little bit more about your life in the Army. I know we're trying to keep it short for time, but I really appreciate you coming on the show, and I know Sergeant Ryan does as well. Absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate your support and your willingness to do this.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you very much. All right, guys, this concludes another wonderful episode. Tune in, and we'll continue to do some of these where we do our fan sort of fix and stuff like that. We can introduce some family members, some people who are outside of our immediate family who maybe even ask those questions. Maybe if somebody is a spouse, but they haven't experienced their significant other in the military, we can interview some of our new recruits and stuff like that. But we'll wrap things up for now, and thank you guys for joining.